What is going on, YouTube? PPS back. It is Past the Prop. Today it's multi-sport edition, our Monday show. Coming with you with our NFL recap and our four favorite plays for the day. Joined as always by my guy Stu. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. My team plays in prime time today. I've got the flag in a displayable position where you can at least kind of see it, which is an improvement over the last couple weeks. So I'm feeling good, ready to make some money today.
Yeah, no, it was a good week 10. Just gonna get a shout out here in the chat here. But yeah, we got a good slate from this past NFL action. A lot of close games. I mean, I just want to talk about that Bills game, man. That was just unreal. Were you able to watch that one live?
I was. That was a blast. Back and forth. The Jefferson catch, I don't know what you think. It's probably the best catch I've ever seen while watching a game before. Like, just the stakes, the catch, everything going on. Like, 4th and 18, just reaching his hand up to the sky and bringing it down. It was an insane game.
Yeah, no, and that's what kind of makes me almost like obviously I'm an NFC North guy, so I like to see that, especially when the Packers are down. They obviously still have to try to get the wild card because they're not going to win the division. But I mean, how sustainable is this, dude? Like, some of these fucking games are just unreal. Like, there's no way, right? There's no way that this crazy comebacks can just continue like this. The numbers are they're down to 10%. I think they were down to like 3% chance probability when the Bills turned them over on the QB sneak, and then obviously the fumble happens. But man, it was just crazy stuff happening.
Yeah, it's funny. The Vikings have kind of been known for those one-score games for the last couple of years. And you think, oh, new coaching staff, that's going to change. Pretty much every game they've played this year has been a one-score game. So to answer your question about is it sustainable, I don't think so. I mean, I feel like they should have lost to Washington last week. They should have lost to the Bills this week. You can only pull those kind of games out of your ass for so long before kind of karma hits you the other way around. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of keep it going. But if they do until playoff times, then I'd almost want to fade them even more, if like the luck streak never runs out, because it's got to happen sometime.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, at one soon here, I'm going to start just hammering money line against them every time because they just don't blow teams out. It's so weird. Like, even when they're significantly better than the other team, like I would say probably Washington. They're talent-wise, they're significantly better. Like, they should not be that close in these games, right? So, but yeah, we get to talk about your Washington team. But first, hey, let's just talk about the Packers beating Mike McCarthy. That's, like I said, I don't care if they win a game the rest of the year. I don't give a crap because everybody on national TV got to see how big of a bum that man is. And I said it, and I said it in the chat last week. I said, if it comes down to coaching, I don't even think LaFleur's that great of a coach, but Mike McCarthy is a bum, and he showed it there. Why don't you just kick the field goal, dude? Like, what are you doing? Why? What is your thought? Maher's a beast, dude. Maher's like a top 5 fantasy kicker, and you're just gonna try and stop him. Like, Rodgers kind of feeling himself after that big play to Watson, so we kind of got to see the old Rodgers there for a sec.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I was happy for you when they got the win at the end. I knew you were definitely fired up somewhere watching that game, so it was good to see him. Rodgers was fired up too. He threw the pass, he threw the block, he lowered it.
Yeah, that was hype.
It was good. It was good entertainment right there. I'm glad they got the win too, because Cowboys, they don't deserve that.
Yeah, dude, I was almost like I was content, even if the Packers tied that game, just because everybody got to see how bad Mike McCarthy is coaching, because it was just terribly coached. Like, the amount of things that happened in that game, like how many of these routes were just messed up, dude? Like, the route tree was just completely messed up. They're running like the same route, and then they get picked off twice by a dude that was on the practice squad for I think the whole season till all these injuries came through. So it was very, very nice. I was very, very happy to be on the winning end of that. Another game I kind of want to touch on was that Lions game, probably one of the more entertaining ones of the weekend, Fields versus Mr. Goff, and that'll kind of lead us into our recap here.
Yeah, no, we did cash the Fields bet, which was good to see. But man, that Fields has just he's been insane. You think it's kind of one of those things where you don't want to buy in when the hype is high, right? You want to buy low on guys. but he's seemingly only going up right now. That's kind of how I felt last week. I saw some people saying, you're buying a little bit high on him, but it feels like we're just in an upward trajectory. Man, the Lions, they don't play defense, so they really get the most entertaining version. You think we'd see some regression in Fields after literally setting the record for rushing yards, and then he has another insane game on the ground. So, I mean, Fields is kind of like must-watch TV a little bit. We've been talking about these last couple of weeks on the laptop screen game. So maybe they'll be big screen next week. I don't know who they play, but it's been fun.
Yeah, no, I was going to talk about this down the stretch. Obviously, fantasy owners are probably freaking out because they have a top quarterback here now, right? But I mean, these next couple games, right? Atlanta obviously should have a pretty good game there, but then you have the Jets, who are tough. That front seven is tough. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball on them, which is going to be their whole entire offense. The Packers, I'm curious. That one, he should be decent. I mean, he can't really throw that. Like, did you see the touchdown passes he threw to Kmet?
I saw one of them at least.
The one where there was no defender in the screen.
It's just like he floated it up.
Yeah, there was no one in the screen, and that's not going to happen against a competent defense. But then after that, you go on your bye. Then you face Philly and Buffalo in the first round of fantasy playoffs. So all those dudes are screwed if you're just going to ride this hot hand to the playoffs. Obviously, you'll make it there. But you play Philly and then Buffalo, bro. I can't see them succeeding in those types of matchups. But I mean, hey, you're going to get into the playoffs at least, because at least he's getting that 3 perfect matchups in a row before he faces off against the Jets. I just think the Jets are going to be that's the one I'm interested in, because Atlanta, he should absolutely torch those dudes, because, I mean, Panthers just torched him on the ground.
Yeah, no, he's going to be he's going to be 80% owned against the Falcons in DFS and cash games that week. That's a good point, though. I do have Fields as one of my quarterbacks, and maybe I should start looking right now, just monitoring the waiver wire for guys that do have those good late season matchups, because I didn't even make it that far. You're right. I'm still riding the high of going from a shitty team, to a pretty solid team. So that's a good point for everyone out there with Fields on fantasy. Maybe start looking ahead to those first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's going to be tough. Let's take a look here in the chat, and then we'll get to our recap, obviously getting from Jefferson there. We got Turbo in here. Jay popping in here talking about the Kings. What a game from Sabonis last night. Huge numbers. Hey, it's a 1 o'clock game. Kirk Cousins is good. So playoff games aren't at 1 o'clock, though. So we'll see how that goes when that happens. My boy Kadarius, one of my best ball wizards, he came through for me. I've dropped 250. If Hurts scores over 15 points, he'll be my starting fantasy quarterback in my best ball. That I'm already at 215. That's how good my team did in that league, with Christian Watson deciding to 337, Christian Kirk decided 38, and then I had Kelsey and obviously St. Brown. That team just went berserk, but I'm in like 5th place there. So we're going to have to make some moves there. Steve in here as well. But yeah, it should be a good show here. Let's get to our recap here. I believe it was a 2-2 day for us, and I'll kick it over right there. Obviously, Fields absolutely destroyed this number. We had Cooper. I don't know what he was doing. Did you watch that game?
I wanted to watch more of it, but it just wasn't very close for a good amount of it, which is weird. You'd think that kind of game script would be good for Cooper. And I even added actually Kareem Hunt receptions as well right before the game started at plus money. I thought I was getting good value there. And then Nick Chubb had 3 catches. So just a wacky game. You'd think the Browns might be riding some momentum after that prime time, and they just kind of got mopped. So not a great game for us.
Yeah, and mine was I don't know. The Buccaneers defense is just different now, I guess. Once all this shit happened with Brady, they decided they're going to be good. So he came through. Obviously, didn't have to really score that much. Rashad White taking over that backfield in the second half. I think he had 105 rushing yards in that game, which was crazy there. 23 carries. So obviously, Brady did not get there. I think he still ended with 24. And if you watch the end of that game, he still threw up 2 touchdowns trying to ice the game. He was still completing passes. It just, that first half was just so run heavy. And then obviously Kelsey, he's the man, comes through for us. What I'm very, very upset about was I had Tyreek Hill as one of my touchdown scorers yesterday, and I didn't put it in our 4-man parlay, which would have cashed if I would have put Tyreek in there. But we tried rolling with Pierce, and that was unfortunate.
It's okay. If that didn't happen to you, I was between Jamal Williams and Amari Cooper, and I was like, I already gave out Amari Cooper somewhere else. I'll go Jamal. So maybe if you had made the right choice, I would have made the wrong one anyway. So, but hey, back to back 3 out of 4. For those that don't know, it's you, me, Vaughn, and Prop Bomb have been kind of doing these little touchdown parlays on Sunday, and we've been getting real close. Maybe we need to change that to the Sunday round robin instead of the Sunday parlay. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it was like what 11-1 to win that one last week.
Yeah.
Pierce was, I think the highest, right? I think it was a plus 115 on his thing there. Just unfortunate that one was the one that lost, because I hit the one the first week with Foreman at plus 125. He just scores like 3 of them. And then this week I'm like, hey, Foreman, you could have scored 2 and save one for Pierce this week. Would have been nice to get that dub there. Talking about touchdowns, we ended up losing the Taylor fade number here, but Josh Jacobs finds in the end zone again. Very inefficient, just like we thought he would be. But he had 6 catches in that game. So fantasy-wise, he was pretty good, but obviously didn't get there for Taylor fade. Overall recap numbers for the year. This is with the loss on the touchdown parlay as well. 41-32 at 11.64 units. That is including the touchdown parlays in there as well for losses and wins. But yeah, we're rolling. Hopefully we can bounce back. Yesterday was our first losing week in 4 weeks. So hopefully this bounce back week, we can finish off strong going through this Thanksgiving and obviously Christmas time here, where the games get a little bit more interesting. Heading into today, it looks like we have only one NFL play, but I'll kick it to you here first. We got Eagles facing off against Washington, 10.5-point spread, juice to the Eagles. What's your thoughts here? You're the Washington Wizard here, right?
Yeah, well, I'll say what I've been saying a lot this week. Washington a couple years back, we ended the Steelers' undefeated streak on prime time as well. Big underdogs. I think it was 8 points then. Now it's 10.5. This is Washington's Super Bowl. I really feel like it is. It's our one real primetime game. I think we're going to probably be switching back to Carson Wentz pretty soon with Heineke kind of exiting the starting lineup. I don't know if they end up doing that or not, but it's a big game for Washington. And I don't know if the spread should necessarily be on the other side of 10. I don't know. I feel like Washington's live. They've been playing close games these last couple weeks with Heineke, right? In the lineup, every single game has been a 1-score game. They're 2-1 with Heineke as opposed to whatever they were doing with Wentz back there, So I don't know. Washington's coming in with some good momentum. I don't think it'll necessarily be a blowout, but I also don't think Washington has what it takes to maybe overcome them. I think it's not a bad cover, though. I think they keep it within 10 points. But to me, it honestly comes down to turnover differential. And man, the Eagles can force turnovers. Heineke loves to try to attempt turnovers. They don't always work out. And then Washington's defense has been good, but they can't force turnovers either. So it's really hard to lose that turnover differential every week and still win games. And that's kind of what I'm concerned with here against the Eagles.
Yeah, I think the Washington Commanders here have the front line to kind of negate some of these running plays that we're going to probably see 60% of here from the Eagles. I expect them to try and dominate the line of scrimmage. Obviously, the Eagles do have a good line, but that's the best thing of the entire team, right? You go from receiving core, offensive line, DBs. Their front 5 down linemen are their best players. That's their best group of players. So I think it could be a little bit more interesting for a 10.5-point spread. I think that is a little bit big, but I am down 11.6 points in a fantasy league this week with Curtis Samuel left, and they are done. We need 11.6 from Curtis Samuel to get a dub, and it's actually over the guy's he's pretty big. He's a pretty big guy in our league. Obviously, I'm the number 1 point scorer, obviously, but I always play dudes. I drop 150. He dropped 150 on me again. I scored 140 already. So I already beat my projection, but I need Samuel. What do you think my chances are that Curtis Samuel gets me there?
Well, Curtis Samuel is the best matchup on paper, right? I mean, he really does. When you look at these corners, Bradbury and Slay on the outside, nobody wants to go against that. So Samuel should find himself pretty often in the better of the matchups, but he doesn't have that same juice he had in the beginning of the year when we were all betting on him. It seems like he's kind of fallen off a cliff, but he is guaranteed to like at least, 5 to 6 targets a game. And like Jay said in the chat, you're going to need a touchdown. That's what we're really banking on right here. Every time we get to the red zone, I'm going to have to be rooting for you now because I think it's probably touchdown or bust a little bit.
Yeah, no, I did post my YouTube play of the day video this morning with my first NFL play in a while, and I did have Samuel 4.5 catches. It's plus like 115, so hopefully that number moves down a little bit and we get some good CLV. But yeah, dude, I like Samuel tonight. I'm hoping they keep using him in that run game to kind of be a little bit more explosive. I think Dodson coming back will help him a little bit, kind of get those deep corners out of the way. Let's see some low ADOT passes. Let's see some yak. I'm excited. Hopefully I will be able to pull this one out. And yeah, it should be interesting here. Thoughts here, Turbo, bringing up a same game parlay that got boosted. We know about these boosts. We know how they've been for us, but Hurts 225 with a Brown touchdown here. Any thoughts at that number?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Hurts leg, obviously. I think he'll probably have some good success through the air in this one. Touchdowns are just they're hard for a team that runs so much like the Eagles. And then they also have Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert as red zone weapons. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like an easy to choose from team. They have a lot of guys that can do damage in the red zone. The good thing is AJ Brown's like a dominant physical athlete. So if you just want to throw him the ball one-on-one, I'm not sure who on Washington's going to be able to stop him. So I probably have to assume that, he has a pretty solid chance. So I don't mind it at plus 250.
Yeah, no, I haven't bet on Brown to score a touchdown at all this year for the exact reason you said. If you're within the 10-yard line, they're not going to pass the ball, dude. You have Jalen Hurts and you have Miles Sanders. You have all of these backs. Jalen Hurts is probably their best red zone running back at this point when it gets in there, right? So it's just hard for me unless he obviously catches the bomb, which obviously he's done quite a bit. I don't know. It's a weird spot for me because I just love Jalen Hurts in the red zone. I like what he brings. I like this offensive line. I like how they do it. And even if they're calling a pass play, it's first read and go in the red zone for Jalen Hurts to score that touchdown. He's got so many rushing touchdowns from like 5 to 7 yards out on those exact plays. Not many quarterbacks do that. So it's tough for me. Obviously, you're hoping for that out of the red zone 30-yard bomb, which obviously is very live.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Well, I will kick it to you. You're the only one with a NFL play on this one. So I will let you take it over here for play number one.
Yeah. We're going Brian Robinson over 33.5 rush yards on FanDuel. So if you follow this show or you follow me on Twitter, you might already know I'm not really a big fan of Brian Robinson at all. I wasn't happy with the draft pick. I wasn't happy with his usage so far. And you know what? If this bet cashes, I still probably won't be that happy in the end anyway, because I'll have to watch Ron Rivera on every 1st and 10 of this game, no matter what game script we're in, run the ball for 2 yards with Brian Robinson. He absolutely loves to do it. When we look at this offense with Heineke, right, they have the 7th most rush attempts out of any team over those last 3 weeks, right? And it's not even like we've been in situations where we're just coasting through, right? We've been in very close games, and yet we still kind of decided that despite Brian Robinson being very inefficient, right, he has not been great, the volume is there. So I have him for between 9 to 10 carries today. His carries line is 10.5 at plus money, which I don't mind as well. But I just think the simple fact is the Eagles are much more exploitable on the ground than they are through the air, right? I really don't want to target this secondary composed of Bradbury, Slate, Gardner Johnson. This is a very deadly secondary. And, like I said earlier, Heineke's a very turnover-prone guy. I think last week, the model the Texans used to approach the Eagles is going to be a very budget version of what Washington does today, right? Where Pierce still carried the ball 27 times last week, an insane amount, despite the fact that they were losing. I don't think Washington thinks we can go head-to-head on offense versus the Eagles, and that's true. We really can't do that. So I think it's going to be about slowing the game down, grinding it out. One angle I actually really like, if you have Prize Picks, I already bet the 17.5 first half rush yards because I do think a lot of his action will come in the first half when this game is closer. I just think Washington's going to try to slow the pace down, and they've shown nothing but commitment to Brian Robinson. That's the thing right here, right? Antonio Gibson's been good. I can send tweets out all I want about Antonio Gibson being better, but until the coaches don't view him as this kind of player that can't run between the tackles, then it doesn't really matter because whenever we need short yardage, whenever we need those 1st and 10 carries, Brian Robinson's the guy that's in the game. So not the biggest fan of the player in general, but I do think this is just a really low number. I think we're overreacting to Gibson having some burst runs recently when his role, I don't think is actually going to change that much. So I don't love it, but I'm sticking with it. I think it's a good number right here for Brian Robinson rush yards.
Yeah, no, I was actually honestly going to mention that you're probably going to first half cash this one for the sheer fact that I'm pretty sure Jordan Davis is out. Is that correct?
I believe so. I saw he's on the injury report.
Yeah, so that's huge. If he's out, obviously he's a beast right out of Georgia. Yeah. But also, Brian Robinson runs the ball hard. He kind of runs like Dameon Pierce, right? But Dameon Pierce has a little bit more holes to go through in these blocking schemes. So Pierce did fantastic against him. You saw him running through dudes, right? You've seen pretty much the same running style, right? They're trying to run through you. Pierce is not trying to run around you. That's the same thing with Brian Robinson. I think that if this game stays close, this definitely could be just try to grind it out for 20 carries, right? You could definitely see that. And I think the McKissick injury is massive for this because then you're willing to put Antonio Gibson as a third down back, scat back type of role where J.D. McKissick would probably take some of those and they'd probably want to run Gibson a little bit more to make sure he gets the ball. But now Gibson is guaranteed third downs because they're not passing Robinson the ball ever. I have him on fantasy. I know that man does not catch passes. If he does, I'm so happy. If I even see him catch a 1-yard pass, I am hype. I am literally screaming for joy that he actually got more points than just his rushing yards because we don't have an incentive league in that one. Yeah. So he could run for 150 and I'd still only get 15 points. So I think that McKissick injury is huge. And that this play is definitely a spot I would love to find a way to bet on as well. And let's head over to Pick-It Play of the Day. We have 3 NBA plays to finish off our show. We talked about this one a little bit. I have a feeling I know where you're going.
This is a tough one for me because I do think he goes over. This kind of depends on how you view the game script, right? We've talked about Hurts being a great first quarter kind of guy, or first half, sorry, not first quarter. He's been a great first half guy. And then they've mostly been coasting in the second half, which means his production goes down by a lot. I personally am in the camp that I do think Washington plays a competitive enough football game where that Hurts is engaged for the whole game. So I'm going to go over right here, although I will say I saw Prop Bet Guy post the passing plus rushing. I like that angle more, to be completely honest with you, because Washington, as I've talked about in this show before, we really can't defend rushing quarterbacks. It's not a new problem. We've never been able to do it. So I kind of like the passing versus rushing angle more, but I'll take the over just because I think it'll be a competitive ball game.
Yeah, competitive, and I'm curious how long they say committed to the run. Obviously, they have a fantastic run game, one of the best in the NFL. But I think that the Washington Commanders are going to have to know that, right? You have to take that away first, or else they're just going to run it the whole game. So I expect to see the box filled up a little bit early on. Maybe a guy over the top for A.J. Brown, but that's about it. I don't really know. I think Goddard definitely is a spot I like to go today. He's been one of my favorite dudes to target in the touchdown market, and his yards after the catch is elite for a tight end. So I love backing him, but I'll probably roll over. I'm not going to bet it, but I like the spot. All right. We are heading over to NBA. Take a big swing over. Sorry, my dog just popped in here for some reason, and I don't know how he got in here. But, yeah, we're going to head over to NBA. We got 40 of you guys in here. We appreciate you popping in on your Monday. Drop that like on that for sure. Let's get this thing rolling here. And here, give me 1 second here. Let's look at our favorite games of the day on this slate. I'm going to kick it to you because my dog just grabbed my sheet of paper here. So what is your favorite game of the slate here?
Okay, that's a great question. I love that. I would have to say for me though, completely honest, I am kind of excited for the Raptors Pistons game. I know everyone is kind of betting on that narrative, right? I know there's a lot of bets out on the Pistons because of the former coaching history and then his what I believe 9-3 against the spread record. So I'm kind of rooting for the Pistons in this one. Welcome back. I was saying I'm going for the Dwayne Casey Bowl today is my favorite one. Pistons Raptors, getting that revenge in.
Yeah, dude, I love that game. I think that what I really like is just the amount of minutes the Raptors are playing right now without Siakam, dude. You're seeing these minutes go through the roof. They were already playing 35 to 37. Now without Siakam, we're seeing guys like Van Vliet go through. We have I think Gary Trent's out today too. Like, how many minutes is Fred Van Vliet going to play? I wish I could bet on that because I'd bet over 40 and a half. But my favorite game is going to be probably Orlando. I think I'm going to go to that game. Some just bad teams, right? Charlotte, Orlando. But hey, it's going to be a fun matchup. I think it's going to be fast. It's going to be just up and down, really terrible offense. But hey, the pace will be fun.
I actually, that was going to be mine. I think the Dwayne Casey narrative is fun because so many people on Twitter are going to bet on that game. So that's why I picked that one. But I agree with you. There's nothing more I like than two bad teams just battling each other, close spread. We don't have to worry about blowouts. I'm with you. I'll definitely have a couple spots in that game by the end of the day.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, let's head to my first play. I'll have two NBAs. Obviously, you'll have one with your Brian Robinson play being one of them. And I am heading to Mr. Kelly Oubre, Mr. Microwave himself, the dude to make 2.5 threes at -105. Crazy line, in my opinion, here. Obviously, LaMelo Ball is back. That sucks. But Dennis Smith Jr. is doubtful, right? We have Gordon Hayward still on the shelf. So that's still a lot of usage there. And Dennis Smith Jr. being out is actually massive, right? Because I think that we're going to see LaMelo kind of take that role a little bit more, obviously, with a little bit more usage here. But let's just, before I even get into how bad Orlando's defense is, let's just talk about the amount of shots this man takes from the three-point line. He's averaging 9 threes a game right now. He played Portland 2 days ago, or 3 games ago. He made 1 3 and shot 11. That's all I need to know. This man does not care if he makes the shots. Yeah. They are going to go up, right? We look at how many shots he takes a game. As of right now, 17 shots a game, 9 of them from the three-point arc. We see him hoisting threes. And I think that this is going to be a game where, like I said, should be fast, poor defenses. And let's just look at how bad Orlando is at guarding the three-point line. They've allowed the third most threes in the NBA to be made. You have a guy here who will shoot them, and he will shoot them in bunches, right? Especially if they're going to have Melo on like a minutes restriction. I'm not sure on how much he's going to play like in full bursts. Like normally he'd probably play 8 minutes in the first, come out, play from like the 9-minute mark in the second and run through. I think we see him in more of like that 4 to 5 minute bursts, come out, 4 to 5 minute bursts a little bit, still get his full minutes. But who's going to be shooting when he's off the court? PJ Washington, right? Like there's just not that much to like here, especially when you have guys that are big down low, right? You still got Wendell Carter down there, tough matchup. I mean, Bull's playing crazy minutes now for a guy who didn't see any last year. I think it's a tough matchup for all those bigs. I think Oubre is going to have the best one. I mean, maybe Suggs guards him, and I'm not worried about that. So I think Oubre is going to hoist at least 9 threes. And if he hoists 9, I think 3 are going to fall in the cup from a team that allows a ton of threes to go up.
Yeah, I like that angle. This definitely does seem like a low number. Exactly what you were saying. He's a guy that a high frequency of his shots are going to be from beyond the arc, especially when you have a team that can actually protect the rim pretty well. They've got plenty of 7-footers to just put right in the paint and kind of block those layups. So I like this look right here. Until you mentioned LaMelo, he's also a creator, right? He's a great passer. So that opens up a better quality of shot, even if it does take away volume. And then finally, like we talk about in the NFL with target competition a lot, it's exactly like you said. Who else is going to be shooting it, right? Obviously, we got Rozier and PJ Washington there, but this is a team probably, I don't know, are there like the least amount of offensive weapon? Like, is McDaniels going to take 10 shots today? No. Is Plumlee going to take 10 shots? Probably not. It's just really concentrated when these guys are on the court.
Yeah, and he's been getting so many minutes, right? I mean, in competitive matchups, obviously. But even if you look at his last four, I think we're getting a buy low spot too, because he's only hit it once in his last 4 games. And he dropped 7 on the Miami Heat, who are a pretty good defense, right? And then you look at who else he's been playing in this matchup, right? Washington, they're tough. That defense is actually pretty good, and they're playing very slow. And now you're going to have a team that's more willing to run with you and obviously gives up a lot of threes. So I think that we're going to see a lot. I wish they gave me an attempts line, bro. Just give me the 9.5 attempts at like plus 250. I will throw money on that every time I see it.
Yeah, no, field goal attempts and 3-point attempts, whoever adds that is going to get a lot of new customers, man. That's what the NBA community is begging for. That would be some of these guys that just suck, but just never stop pulling. I mean, imagine like Dylan Brooks from a couple years ago, just over and over and over again. That would be fun.
Or Jordan Clarkson before, dude. Like, dude, if I saw Oubre make his first three, I would automatically count it as a cash bet at 9.5. If he makes his first three, the bet's cash. He's shooting 10 threes. I guarantee it. All he needs to do is see one go in, right? And I'm going to assume within the first or second shot that he went 1 for 11, went in. Hey, I made one. I might as well keep shooting, dude. Might as well keep going. And he shot 11 and only made one. That is so bad. I looked at that. And I'm like, how do you just keep throwing it up there? And then I'm like, who else is going to shoot it?
Fair.
And we're going to a guy I facing off against my team here. So I'm hoping, hopefully he drops this and still loses the game though.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm going Trae Young over 26.5 points, minus 115 MGM. This kind of reminds me of the Devin Booker one I gave out a couple weeks ago that we cashed on here, where it's a guy going up against a team that he's absolutely crushed, right? And over his last 4 matchups dating back to last year, he has over 30 points in every single one of them. 40 points in 3 out of the 4. What I really like here too, Brook Lopez starting on this team. He's a great rim protector, even at his age, right? No mobility whatsoever. But Brook Lopez playing that drop defense is just going to open up so many of those mid-range floater opportunities that Trae Young absolutely loves to eat in. Same thing over these last couple of years in this Coach Bud offense. It's really been, we'll dare you to take those threes if you want to. I think Trae Young is more than happy to take those threes. Obviously, the field goal volume has been great this season, averaging almost 23 shots per game. Even with DeJounte Murray joining this team, I like both of them today, honestly. I kind of like Murray and Trae Young. The thing that does worry me, I do think Trae does get the tougher matchup with Carter out there. I absolutely love Carter. I've been betting on him a lot. He's just so annoying. He never stops. His motor is so good thanks to that good old-fashioned West Virginia training in college out there. He really doesn't stop, but I do think they're going to do his best to switch him off, attack the paint in these pick and rolls, get the Grayson Allens of the world, and just lay down those floaters, make them foul you. The volume is just too good to be true right here. I know it's probably going to be a somewhat popular play today, but he's just crushed him, so I'm thinking he keeps it rolling today.
Yeah, dude, that Bucks defense has been so good. It's just so hard for me to like, obviously I'm very much a homer. So NBA is like my only one where I'm a very big homer. Brewers, I know they can't hit, right? Packers, they got rid of everybody. The Bucks are like my only one left to really bank it on. But yeah, dude, it's just this defense has been so good. Like they used to give up so many 3-point attempts, and now it's just they found a way to guard the 3-point line. I'm like, why did we do this the last 3 years? Like in this Budenholzer thing, and I think they're like number one in a lot of defensive categories, but definitely a tough matchup here with Trae Young. I'm curious how they're going to do it because one of my favorite things to watch is Javon Carter go through screens because the dude does not give a fuck about who is putting a screen from. That dude would try to go straight through Steven Adams' chest, and that dude's a freaking monster. So that's my only concern is that Javon Carter is one of the very few dudes that doesn't switch. He literally will run through when he's playing against one of the better guys. And Carter even found his way into the starting lineup when everybody was healthy. So obviously they do see something important there. Obviously the DiVincenzo leaving last year, he kind of fills that void, especially without Connaughton there. So I think this is going to be an interesting one. I want to see this matchup for sure. I think it'll be fun. And honestly, you don't even know who's going to guard him. Like you could switch Carter with Murray too, so that's the thing about having Murray's the best guy might not even guard him. Right. So that's one thing that is very nice. And I think it's going to be a very fun game, especially with some of those guys coming back. I believe they mentioned that Giannis might be playing this one. I think he is.
Drew's the only one that's out officially. He's been ruled out so far, so we're still kind of waiting. Drew Holiday, he's out officially, but we're waiting on everyone else from now on.
Yeah, I looked at Giannis's lines today at 32.5 points. The dude hasn't played in a week and a half, and they're still going to get him at 33. Nobody's getting over on the books for that. So you're going with a superstar. I'm going to go with a guy who I think could be coming through here. And I love this dude. I love how this man is a microwave. The same thing we talk about with Jordan Clarkson, but this guy actually passes the ball sometimes. So Devin Vassell, I'm going to FanDuel for this one. His line on DraftKings is like minus 110 for 20.5. I think the 20 cents is definitely a spot where I'm willing to pay for it because this dude is averaging 21 a game. He's getting his shots up 51%, 51% from the field so far in the month. This dude has been on fire, shooting pretty much well from every single spot, right? And obviously, when I look at Vassell here, I've been backing Keldon Johnson a lot, and everybody kind of knows how much of a fan I am of Keldon Johnson. But I think Vassell is like the perfect spot for here because this dude can score every single way, right? Obviously, Keldon's been shooting a lot of threes. Vassell has been shooting threes, but he's shooting 7.2 threes per game. But this man is still shooting 51% and from the floor and 47% from three, right? And I mean, this is a pretty big sample size at this point that this man is absolutely stroking the ball, right? 4 out of his 5 games in November have gone over 20 points. We've seen him getting those minutes back. I know he came off an injury in the first game back, 25 minutes, 29 points, right? This dude is super efficient. We have a great matchup here for him in a spot against the Warriors. Obviously, it's a pretty good team on the Warriors side, but I know Clay is not playing. He's not playing back-to-backs. This is a back-to-back. Warriors, the number 1 pace team in the NBA. This is one of the only 2 teams that could pace up the Spurs, right? The Spurs are number 3. Warriors are number 1. I think with Clay out, doesn't really change anything. Like obviously if Poole or Curry was out, maybe I'd expect that to take a step back. But both ball handlers are in this game, right? We got Vassell. In matchups of teams that have had a top 10 pace, he has scored 19 points in every single one of those, right? We go to Indiana, he dropped 23. Minnesota dropped 23. Weirdly, the Denver Nuggets are top 10 in pace this year, and he's hit it once against them and had 19 in the other one. So this dude has been all over the place. He's been awesome. He's been shooting hyper efficiently. And I think in this game, 7-point spread, I think the Spurs off of a back-to-back here for the Warriors, I think they have a chance to keep this one close for a while. We got a lot of young guys, right, coming off. They've had a day of rest. Warriors on a back-to-back. A lot of minutes for especially Curry there in a closer game against the Kings yesterday. Sign me up. I think Vassell just absolutely goes crazy here and is able to shoot the ball from deep very well.
I like it. Vassell's been very good this year. Like you said, one of the good up-and-coming young players in the league, too. And we've talked about it now multiple times on the show where the Warriors, at this point in the season, aren't a team we're running away from anymore. It's a team we're targeting now. Like you said, a high-paced matchup, which obviously the Spurs are already won, but then a team that their defensive cohesion just isn't there so far this season. I don't know what it is. I think we've talked about it a little bit. Guys just getting older, rotations not being as tight yet. It'll be interesting. Do you know what the starting lineup is going to be for the Warriors? Because they do some crazy. Remember that game? They just sat everybody.
Moody, maybe?
Oh, Moody could be in there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But either way, I would say the more young players the Warriors are starting in their lineup, the better for it. You know, the more Kuminga, Wiseman, and Moody minutes, I think just the faster pace, more chaos there is in this game. So I like this look.
And I like how Pop is not dumb, right? He's a very good coach. And he every time Keldon comes off the floor, Vassell is on the floor, right? Yeah. They're never both off the floor because they're both obviously – I don't want to say alphas, but alphas on this team, right? They're both, if they get the ball, they're going to look to score, right? And that also comes into if Kuminga plays a lot, Kuminga is their best, in my opinion, their best defender on that second unit for sure. And if he comes through and guards people, he's going to Keldon Johnson. He ain't going to go to Vassell, right? He's going to be a much better matchup for Keldon Johnson because they're about the same size. Keldon's a little bit bigger and their number 1 scorer. I think this number 2 spot's going to be where they're going to be able to make some hay there. And I think obviously Pirtle is going to be good down low. as well. But I think Vassell has a pretty much locked in amount of minutes that we've been seeing now that he's fully healthy, right? Obviously, the blowout against the Bucks in their last game, he still got 22 points, but he only played 31 minutes. Other than that, it's been 35 plus mostly when they've been in competitive matchups. And I think that's easily an option here.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to Jace post the projected lineup, I'm not sure if they start Poole or not. They haven't
I don't
been.
think he will.
Yeah, they haven't been very willing to do that so far this season, and he hasn't given them much of a reason to be completely honest. But if this is the starting lineup, then I like your bet way more, because if there's even 10 minutes of total game time where Vassell is matched up against Curry or Jordan Poole out there, then sign me up for that 100%.
Let's take a first half cash option here. Let's see if we could take Vassell 20 points in the first half plus 1,000. I'll throw some money on that. I would love to watch Jordan Poole try to guard Vassell here. Okay, he's saying it's via underdog. I'd be curious if they will start him, because I know they even put Moody in there before Poole at some point. So,
and I would too.
Yeah,
I would.
It was good. Yeah, Moody
defender.
does what he's supposed to do, right? I mean, he doesn't need a ton of usage, right? And yeah, I'd be curious, because they already called out that Clay wouldn't play back-to-backs like at the beginning of the season. So I know there's been a few games where he's been out, but obviously the last one that Clay was out on the back-to-back, they benched their entire starting roster. So, yeah, sign me up. Let's go pop. Let's run some ISOs here. Let's just run all ISOs. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, just ISO the whole time.
Well, and the good news too, Trey Jones, their point guard, he can't shoot. So, he's just out there to pass. So it's good. It's good. I like that look. Young team. They're always fun to bet on.
Yes, I would take it at even money. The only spot I had that was available to me was DK with minus 110. I'm like, I'll take the 20 cents for that point, because something like that's going to be scared. Like, they're going to give it to me at this good of a price when he's already averaging 21 a game. You know what we do with these buy downs. It's like in your head, it's like, am I going to get hooked? 20 is just such a nice number that it would get me hooked. So I'm going to take the 20. We got a couple questions in here. And I'll kick it to you for this one. Any thoughts on Paul George over 26.5 points tonight? Obviously, as good of a matchup as you can get, right, facing off against Houston. Is this a spot that you're looking at all?
Yeah, honestly, Vassell and now PG are two guys that are on my first quarter checklist, that I was going to look for the first quarter spot. So I like Paul George. I mean, like you said, historically bad defensive backcourt over these last couple of years from Houston. They just can't defend anything. Points in the paint, threes, pace, all of that. They're a great spot for any point guard. So nothing negative at all to say about Paul George today. 100% like the over. I'll probably look at first quarter stuff. I could definitely see Ben in that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's not that many guys playing for the Clippers. It's only a 5.5 point spread. Houston at home. I mean, they could keep this close with how they run that offense, right? They're fun up and down the court. You know who I really like to look at tonight is my boy Sengun tonight, baby. I'm looking at him quite a bit. And I want to take the over under 20 minutes before Zubac fouls out. I want to take that prop.
That's what I was just thinking about too. Actually, those free throws. Hell yeah. No, yeah.
I would love that if they would give me a foul out option, because they probably give me plus 200. I'd be taking that in a heartbeat, because Zubac is my favorite dude to watch just foul guys. 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes. Jake saying he's already on. Mr. Trey already as well. Who do you think we have some people dropping that Fred VanVleet's out today too? Who do you think gets the most bump in stuff today? You obviously have OG Anunoby in that starting lineup. You have also Trent out too, I'm pretty sure. So you have Anunoby there. I mean, who else really gets that huge bump? I like Boucher a little bit. He's been pretty good when he plays. Dude's so good at his usage when he's out there, just blocking people's shots at will. Is there a guy from Toronto that you're targeting today, or are you just kind of staying away with all this injury news?
It's tough. I mean, like you said, Boucher's been kind of like a DFS darling for so long, playing 9 minutes, but getting 3 blocks, 3 threes, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Point Scotty should be out there, right? We'll see him kind of playing a bit of everything, that point forward role we kind of know. So I'll be interested to see at his assist number, some stuff like that. Also, who do we think they're going to be starting without him? I know they've got a bunch of guys over there. It'll be interesting to see what their rotations are looking like. Maybe buy low on some of those guys that don't normally start.
Yeah, the only people I'm seeing on DraftKings right now are Barnes and Anunoby up here for anything. So
Yeah.
they're smart. They're smart, holding out until they see that starting lineup. Maybe Malachi Flynn Day. Is it Malachi Flynn Day? That boy's going to shoot, whether he's out there with anybody or not.
What about Blanton? Isn't he still
geez.
over there too?
Probably. What's his name? What's his first name? Donato or something like that?
Yeah, Donato Blanton, something like that. Yeah. So I don't know. Flynn, I'd probably bet on sooner, like you said, because he's just going to go out there and chuck shots up. And if they can't bench him for Fred VanVleet, because he doesn't really play defense as much.
No, he doesn't.
And that's a defense-oriented team. So if you don't play defense, you don't get minutes. So now that threat is kind of gone, then I do like that a little bit more. And 2J says he tailed Scotty 13.5 RA. Oh, yeah, 100%. Point Scotty is definitely a good look. I mean, he did it in college for like a while, too. This isn't like a new role for him.
Yeah, looking at assists, we're seeing 6.5 minus 140 to the over for Scotty Barnes. That's the books they're smart. They're making you eat that juice. They're gonna make you go at it here. So if it's just gonna be uncomfortable to click that minus 140, and they're just gonna hang it there because you're gonna want to bet it, but it's just like, oh, can you really put that much juice on it? Maybe I just go for double plus 200. Maybe that's the spot I go to instead, because I think that might be a spot I go for. All righty. That is it, guys. That is everything. Let's go through our recap here. I know it's been a little bit all over the board, NBA and NFL. We still got 30 of you guys in here. We appreciate you guys staying in here on your Monday afternoon. Smash that like button if you haven't already, and let's get to our recap.
Sounds good. I'll be going with my arch nemesis in football today, Brian Robinson, over 33.5 rush yards. Also, if you do have Prize Picks, I love the over 17.5 first half rush yards. I think that's a great spot. And then over to the NBA, I'm going Trae Young over 26.5 points, minus 115 over on MGM. And then for Pickett, yep, I'm going to be tailing Pickett. I'm going to be tailing Jalen Hurts and the public over 240 right here.
I'll be tailing as well, very, very cautiously. Will not make my actual card here, but I'll tail it. I think the Washington front seven is going to have to come out and show out in prime time here. And I'm going to be heading to Kelly Oubre, the hoisted, if I'm 0 for 10, Kelly Oubre, over 2.5 threes, minus 105. And I'll be rolling with Devin Vassell as well. 20 points over on FanDuel. I would play it at plus money at 20.5. It's just that for some reason I'm getting that weird feeling in your gut. When you feel that, just like that half might get me tonight. And I think Vassell still gets there, but I'm a little more willing to eat the 20-cent juice on taking that extra point. Want to get to our recap numbers before we do our full recap of the show here. NFL 41-32 at 11.64. Last show, unfortunately, wasn't our best NBA one, but we started NFL -2 for the first 3 weeks, and we come through and we're over that 10-unit mark. So this is that bounce back day. Stu, you got anything for the people before we head out? We're at that about 45-minute mark before we head out of here.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys are going to want to make sure to follow us both everywhere else. We're here on YouTube, but we also got Twitter, which is you can see below. And then we got Pickett, too. Pickett is obviously where we get the Taylor fade from. They've got the bet tracking and everything like that, the social features. I posted that Brian Robinson first half Prize Picks before the show even started over there on Pickett. So if you're not on Pickett, you should go join us over there. And also, we both got a bunch of stuff out. I know you have your play of the day video with multiple spots for today's action. I have a Jalen Hurts article up for the 33rd team, which I think is a very good one because I watch Washington a lot. So I feel like I can explain how to attack them very well. So if you want to read me rant about Washington and see more of my bets, then go follow me on Twitter because there'll be plenty more of that today.
Love it, love it, love it. Make sure if you go over on Pickett and follow us, obviously we appreciate all you guys. We're both at that 1,000 follower mark over there. Use that promo code PTP for some free money. And then, we just appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I know we're here a lot, right? You see our faces a lot, 3 times a week. We appreciate all you guys who've been here for all of these shows, showing love on all these shows. And hopefully we'll be able to reward you with some winners tonight. Really like this slate. Obviously, and not a huge NBA slate, which is nice because I don't like those 15 gamers. Really mess with me, man. I my time management is terrible on those. So I do have the YouTube play of the day video out. There's 2 free plays, both different. College basketball first play of the year we're giving out over on YouTube today. Rolling with my boys over at the Thundering Herd, baby. We're going to Marshall, baby. We're going to head over there for one of our plays. And obviously backing my boy Curtis Samuel because let's get those 11.6 points for me today. Please get me a win, Curtis Samuel. And on that, we will head out. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we will see you over on Wednesday, same spot over here on YouTube for some more action. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck. Peace.